Hi, I'm Eleanor Tirtisana, and I'm here with Nathan from ProRep. They've very kindly come up to get involved at our event in Norfolk. For those of you who don't know, I set up Norfolk Tortoise Club, which has now become Tortoise Club, about 25 years ago with a team of other enthusiasts with an aim to improve information, help with welfare with tortoises in captivity, and it's kind of snowballed from there. We now have, we work with the trade to try and improve products that are available, including ProRep, and a lot of these products that you can see here are ones that we've collaborated over the years. So I've got a tortoise here. This is a large spur thigh, Algerian whitey-eye, that would have come in from the wild probably 40, 50 years ago. So long-term captive. So we've got a real mix of tortoises that have come in from the pet trade, but also ones that have come over before the ban in 1984. So I'll just sort of whistle stop on some of the products seasonally. We've still got the traditional pelleted food, which it is a little bit junk foody, but it's very good if you've got the animals that have come in, you're trying to stabilise them and you want them to put on a bit of weight. This can be a great product, particularly first 40-hour care, along with the bath and the revive. A lot of tortoises will eat this very readily, so people like to buy it. But what I would always encourage is, this is another product that we collaborated on with ProRep, is actually feeding a grass-based pellet. Now, tortoises won't necessarily eat this from the off, but always recommend trying to mix it initially with something that the tortoise likes sweet, and say like the pellets are more palatable. And then over sort of several months, you can then cut down, and then ultimately, once the tortoise is settled and feeding well, it's good to try and keep them on a high fibre diet, because a big problem is tortoises eating too much in captivity, and trying to encourage people to not feed like high nutrition foods like pellets or even weeds too much. Like not feeding fresh browse every day is another thing that a lot of pet owners don't understand. So this is where the dried grasses, dandelions and dried flowers really come into their own, because I would say with all meals with fresh browse, you should encourage keepers to actually sprinkle this on as a topper. Now they'll say, oh, they don't eat it, but what you need to say is always put a bit on, because you want them to eat it accidentally. Because if you do a whole season with them eating it a little bit accidentally, they will then eat it very readily, and you can then start introducing a couple of dried browse feed days at certain times of year, because that's what would happen in the wild. It actually gets very dry for several months in the height of summer, so they won't always have fresh browse all year round. And I think that's where captive husbandry is getting in trouble, because we're actually overfeeding our tortoises. And with females, it can mean that if they're overweight, then you can get egg retention issues because of obesity. It also puts a lot of pressure on their organs. And with younger tortoises, it means that they're growing quicker, which is putting a strain on their bodies. It can also mean that they're quite weak and prone to illness, because their hearts, their skin, their bodies just can't put in those building blocks fast enough. Now, something to counteract that isn't in the wild, but the reason why we need it in captivity to meet their needs is to actually give them oral calcium and oral D3. So UVB lighting, always pushing outdoors as much as possible, because there's nothing better than natural sunlight, obviously. But also putting calcium botanical mix on is a great one. What I love about this is because it's got ground up leaves and flowers in it, it makes it more palatable for the tortoise to eat. Instead of just plain limestone flour, this is a great product because the tortoises actually like to eat it, and people love it because it's got little tortoises on the front as well. That's great marketing. Now, the one thing I've been pushing for that I feel has been the missing part of this is vitamin D3, okay? And I'm really hope that they put these two things together and then sell it with D3 in it, because in captivity, tortoises tend to grow too fast because people can't resist. They just want to put fresh food down all the time. And even if they're not, I mean, even here I have tortoises that grow quite quick, and young tortoises, you do need to put on calcium every day. And if you're using another brand where it says put it on 3 times a week, the problem is tortoises are too clever and they just will not eat so much on those days, or eat round it, and then eat loads on the no supplement days. So I think the best way is little and often with tortoises. and to always put a low D3 and botanical mix to make it palatable, lightly dusted on all meals, because then it's accumulative. And there's a lot of wastage with tortoises. It's not like with lizards where you gut load and they eat the whole thing. Like tortoises will eat a bit here and there, here and there. So you just want a little and often. The other thing you can do is plain calcium or granules for people to actually scatter around seeded plants that they're growing. This then helps, it's a bit like gut loading a bug. So say if you're the tortoise feed mini grow kit, with some limestone flour granules to actually mix in to the soil, so the plants are growing with calcium in it as well. So one thing I would say about this is great because it's getting people on the right foot to being brave about feeding natural food, but do try and tell people to make sure the plant grows to an adult plant, because young plants are quite fattening. So it kind of goes against feeding weeds because it's then going to be like super rich. So actually get this growing and then encourage people to then pot it onto a proper pot so they can then cut it and use it all summer. So that's another thing that people often forget. They just come and get the tray, feed it young, and actually it's quite fattening. So actually encourage people to grow it to a full plant. The other product that's just come out, which is quite exciting, is the ProRep block. So this one we developed with ProRep years ago, where it's actually natural chalk lump. It's great for decorating the enclosure, and it's just a form of calcium that the tortoise can browse on, as well as cuttlefish bone. But there is also this one, which is just another product. It's nice to give tortoises as many options to get hold of calcium as possible. So cuttlefish bone, this and this. The nice thing about the ProRep one, and I have tried it with the baby tortoises, is it's soft. It's softer than some of the other products available. And look, you can even break it with your hand. And if it's too hard, the tortoises aren't so keen, but the babies will actually go for this. And that's a really good selling point. It's nice and flat, and if you break it, you've got a nice rough edge for them to eat as well. So I think that's most of the products. This browse, edible browse, the bigger ones, particularly if you've got like leopards, sulcatas, or people with big whitey eyes, big North African spur thighs, the big pale-shelled ones, are also grass-based, and marginated tortoises. This is another thing. They're like Ibras and Hermans have a slightly lusher diet, like with leaves and flowers, but marginated tortoises are a little bit like leopards and sulcatas, and people don't realise this. And this is why you see a lot of marginateds that are really plasticky, because people are feeding them too rich a food. So again, really push the dried flowers, the dried dandelion, and this tortoise life edible, because it's a very fibrous, and feed them on a bed of dried grass. Really push that. So put this in the base of the food, add the dried flowers, and always have that in there. And never just put one thing in the food bowl, and always try and put like 3 or 4 things, because we now know that tortoises will eat, in a week, they can eat like 20 different plants, and we should be aspiring to feed as much variety as possible. So the only risk is with beginners, if you tell them they can feed a bit of lettuce and a pellet, that's all they want to feed. As an organisation, we tend to kind of say we use this more as a kind of like medicine when they're underway, to get them feeding. But as a complete food, they can become addicted. So it's something to only use sort of in emergencies, or what you really want to push is to use this as part of a diet. Always make sure that you've got sort of feeding 3 different things with every meal. Don't ever feed one thing. It's really important to get the variety in. And then tortoise life. So tortoise life has been really popular for years, but that soil was made based on what was observed by Tortoise Trust, Andy Highfield, in the wild. So it is a copy of what's in the wild. My argument is the tortoises that are getting this substrate are not in the wild. They're under artificial lighting, which is a bit harsher. It's not a full environment habitat. It is a compromise, and I think you need a little bit more moisture in there to counter that, and that's why we recommended the bioactive, which has actually got cocoa coir in it as well, which then adds a little bit more moisture. And go quite deep, because if it's only a few inches deep, it dries out in a heartbeat. Like if they're getting stuck for the first time, a couple of bags, and then every 3 months, doing spot checks and pulling poop out weekly, but then doing a full change quarterly, and go deeper and mix it up. And spraying is not enough. You actually need to have a couple of pints of warm water and mix it in, you know, to hold the moisture. And in the wild, like encouraging them to burrow so that they're staying warm at night, but also it's helping to keep their skin hydrated. The other thing that ProRep sell, which is sphagnum moss to actually put in hides. So I recommend actually going for sort of the more shiny surfaced hides where they can't climb on top and fall off, but then in those hides putting sphagnum moss and letting them park in there. Tortoises feel really safe if the top of their shell is touching the edges of what they're sleeping in, and then obviously soil inside as well. Don't go for straw and hay because we now know that it can poke them in the eye and wrap around them, and particularly in hibernation it's an absolute no-no because so many tortoises over the years I've seen that have lost eyes or got respiratory problems from the dust mites and things that have been in it, or they've walked around in hibernation and it's wrapped around their leg. So it's actually better to go to buy dried leaves and use that around the tortoise, and then the outer box, if you're doing traditional method, can be other packing material. It doesn't matter, it can be like polystyrene beads or something like that. So if you're interested in learning more tortoise matters, I've got a YouTube channel where I talk about all these things, and there's also lots of free information resources on tortoiseclub.org. You can always become a member for ongoing support. So I think I've spoken about everything here. If anyone has any questions or wants to ask anything else, feel free to get in touch.